Negroes in Haiti who are dealing with oppression right now, and you have the Indians of the West Indians and Jamaicans who are Benjamin. That's Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. So he's going to begin to start bringing back the 10 tribes that was in the northern kingdom and the king's tribes with the priests and the warriors in the southern kingdom. He's going to start bringing them back and awakening them. That's what you see now. Now you notice these are the people that are promoted in the earth as criminals. That's not by chance either. They have criminalized these people knowing that the Most High would begin to wake them up. Read.
And I will cause them to return to the land.
You see that word cause? So everything you see in this earth is a cause to force Israel to start making their way back. Mm-hmm. We think it's oppression. We think the government don't like us. We think we're just getting thrown in jail and black people just can't get ahead. No. The Most High is using this tribulation to awaken us and move us into the directions we need to go. Mm-hmm. And this is also a purging that will allow us to get our sins purged. The more restriction that comes on us, the more it happens where you don't have access to finances. Things get hard. There's going to be, believe it or not, less access to sin. So that's going to be an awakening that moves us towards the Father, because there won't be an opportunity to sin with what's about to happen. Then we're going to start calling on our God, whom we know the world have hid his name. For those who don't know, his name is Ahiah. His name is not Jehovah, it's not Yahweh, it ain't Jah, it's not Yah. These are all names that was given to us by the Jewish powers who are the synagogue of Satan. His name is Ahiah. He said, I am that I am. Ahiah, Ashar, Ahiah in the Hebrew. That's the name he gave us before he delivered the children of Israel from the land of Egypt. Read.
And I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it.
And they shall what?
And they shall possess it.
And they shall possess it. So the what you would call immediate possessors of the land of Israel, I hate to say it, but they're going to have to relocate. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, they can stay there if they want. Okay, because the Bible tells us what's going to happen once Christ returns. And we're not talking about planet Nubaru and another planet coming from another galaxy. They know exactly what they're preparing for out in space. They're preparing for the coming of our Lord. And this is not just any man. He came gentle, meek, and humble the first time. Revelations 19:11 tell you he's coming with war, with a sword in his hand. Mm-hmm. He's coming with total fire and indignation. He's coming with total hatred for what's going on in this earth, and he will purge this earth so this place will be new again. So there will be no peace until Christ's sword is finished. So he's not coming to smile and take Christians and Buddhists and the New Age movement and hold hands and skip through the meadows. He's not coming to pick flowers. He's coming for total war. Read.
Verse 4. And these are the words that the Lord spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah.
Go ahead.
For thus saith the Lord, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear.
The Lord says he heard a voice of trembling and not fear. This trembling is coming coming to his people. Read.
We have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace.
And not of peace. Read.
Ask ye now, and see whether a man doeth travail with child.
So the Most High is asking, can a man have a child? We know that answer is no. Read.
Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins?
So why do I see grown men screaming like pregnant women? This is the future of this earth based on the pains that must come before Israel is born. Read.
As a woman in travail.
As a woman in travail. You talking about grown men crying like women. Read.
and all faces are turned into paleness.
What's coming to this earth going to make all faces turn to paleness? Read.
Verse 7. At last, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble.
It's the time of Jacob's trouble. So what's going on in the earth is aimed towards troubling us. The rich have took all the finances and powers for themselves. They're going to start pulling back all the subsidies of what they call entitlement programs aimed towards squeezing us, as if we are have been taking advantage of government when the whole earth have been built off of our slave labor. All the governments of the earth became rich off of us, but they pulling everything back as if we are the problem. All right? But they aiming this towards us because they know who we are. Even if we don't stand and take hold to who we are, we still going to suffer the punishments of Jacob, because that's who we are. We're the children of Jacob. So even if you ignore it and say, well, I'm a Christian and I don't believe that, the elites and the government powers who are following Satan and Lucifer of this earth know who you are. And as long as you exist, you are a threat to their existence. So you can stay what you want to be. It doesn't matter. They still going to come after you, because as long as you live, you are a witness and a testimony that the Most High could raise you up. And this is what the world fears. This is what you have to realize, that struggle between Jacob and Esau. Esau is ruling. And he feel that we got the birthright unrighteously. So once he going to try to take us out, because he feel that once we're gone, he will get the promises of Abraham by default. Mm-hmm. That's what this whole thing is about. Read.
At last, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble.
This is the time of Jacob's trouble. Now, of course, we've been going through trouble for years, but not compared to the trouble that's coming. Look at all the areas they're targeting right now. Look at the areas they're targeting. Over there in Mexico, calling Mexicans, trying to say that Mexicans have drug cartels and they are a threat to society. When we know all drug cartels are set up through the CIA and the banks. The poppy seeds in Afghanistan that fuel your heroin, that's all CIA. That's all military. That's government. But they're going to make it seem as if the little peddler on the corner is the real drug dealer. To put you in prison, to put pressure on you. See, they use the drugs to demonize people even more when they're the drug dealers. And this is through all in all. Everything they do, it comes out, we're the victim. Read.
But he shall be saved out of it.
Read it again.
But he shall be saved out of it.
We're going to be saved out of this. It's going to be like Pharaoh on one side and the Red Sea on the other. It's going to seem like there's no hope. And we're going to call on the Most High's name, and he will deliver us in that day. Read.
Verse 8. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck.
That yoke that was broke, that should be broke off of our neck, is captivity. Now with this captivity, the Most High takes something else away from us too. He take away our fear. See, captivity, it wasn't just the slavery that we inherited. We inherited fear from the psychological damage that been done through us from generation to generation. So when he break our captivity, we will no longer fear our oppressors. That's another thing the governments are afraid of. Why? Because we're really not the minority. You put us all together, we're the majority of the earth. We're going to realize that. And we're going to realize just a few little guys been picking on us. Just a few guys, what they do is they break you up in all these different groups. Therefore, you are a minority group. But when you put all these groups together, you are the majority. Psychological warfare, that's what they use on you. They call you in society, well, you're a minority, you're a minority, you're a minority. You start to think, okay, I'm minor. I'm smaller than the rest. So the Most High is going to take that away from us, that psychological fear, and realize, hold on, let me do a count right here. it's more us than them. And they can't fight. And when it comes to armies, they don't really have an army. We fighting all their armies. They use the poor. So we're really the fighters. Look what we got. See, the Most High gonna put that back on us. Right? Read.
That I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him.
And the Most High says, strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. All the nations conspired together so that we could serve them. And that's what we went into in the academy this weekend, on how they even distorted history. They don't care if history is incorrect. As long as we don't figure things out, they'll lie on their own history to make sure we stay in darkness. And it tell you in Psalms 83, they all came together with one consent. In Psalms 83, and they said, let us cut them off from being a nation, so the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. This is what they did. So soon, the nations will not serve themselves of us, but the Most High have to break us first. Because why? We've become too dependent on the powers who have enslaved us. So we must go through this trouble first. Or we'll just hold on to our world and not work for our kingdom. So the Most High must break us. Or we'll just hold on to our massa and hold on to everybody and just say, we don't care if Christ come back. I like this kingdom, and just hold on to your massa. No, massa, take care of me. No, the Most High is going to have massa turn on you. It's purpose. He's going to take your welfare. He's going to take your health care. Don't think that Obama, and that's our lesson, who is Barack Obama. Don't think Barack Obama's health care was for rolling out free health care for the people. You see black people, yeah, I'm going to have free health care. No, you're not. What he did was he broke all the insurance companies back. He circumvented all the insurance companies. That's number one. And with this one plan, he said that you must have a two-way radio RFID chip. That's within the healthcare plan. So what he did was he instituted the mark of the beast within the bill. That's what he did. And we've read the bill on prior lessons. And in it is a two-way radio RFID chip that you must be implanted. Have your medical records, your birth certificate, everything about you, your driver's license, when you were born, your social security, your bank account. Yes, your bank account. You notice that through your banks now, everything is instant. Oh, it's so convenient. I don't have to stand in the line and get a check. They made it convenient for you. No, I don't got to pay the extra money. Listen, you paid less money before you had a bank account, because now they gave you a card that you overdraft every time. You're broke before you get paid. That was purpose too. Your medical records. Oh, we have to have it where your medical records cross-reference with each other. You think the government really care if one doctor don't know your records from another doctor? What do the government care? Okay, so this is where we are. Jacob's trouble, but we shall be saved out of them. Now, we're going to go into this. Who is Barack Obama according to Scripture? Now, before he was voted in, we had a teaching in 2007 when this guy was on the rise. And I don't know if any of you can find this teaching. And we went into Daniel's, a small part of Daniel's, and said, you know what? We think this is this guy. We had it out in speaking, and we said, listen, this is going to be your next president, because there's a key part of the scripture in Daniel 11 where it says, he shall forsake, or he shall not follow the God of his fathers. When it said that, we understood that the Most High must be raising an Israelite at the last days to bring forth this Jacob's trouble. He would be a guy that looked like us and seems like he's us, but really he would be a Manchurian candidate nurtured from what you would call the New World Order powers. He would be raised separate from all of us to lead us one day and bring forth the New World Order. And with it, we would live in the worst time in earth, before this time or ever will be. And I'm going to tell you this, even when America is totally dealt with, which I'm going to go into the scriptures to show you it will be dealt with soon. When that happens, Barack Obama will not be in America. He will make his way back to the areas in which he was born. He's going to go right back in the Middle East. But that's after the destruction of what we call America or Babylon. And we're going to prove this. And what you can do, take all these scriptures down, research them yourself, and then look at prophecy, and you tell us if this Bible is not correct. All right? Now, the reason they couldn't use George Bush or another one of your skull and bone cronies for this next venture is because after George Bush did what he did, George Bush is the one that really ushered in this world domination you see today. But you have the whole earth sour against government based on the illegal wars of George Bush. People stopped believing in government. All right? So they needed to roll someone out that could embrace, that the world could embrace, but yet someone they could control. So they rolled him out like a rock star all over the earth, took him to Europe. It was like one of the biggest days. People came from all around the world. He went to Asia. He went to the Middle East. Then he had one real big speaking in Philadelphia. So they moved him out like a rock star. Everyone loved this guy. They thought that everything would change. We're in the residual effects of what's going on with Barack Obama right now. Okay? And he is worse than George Bush could have ever been. Why? He's worse because at least we knew where George Bush stood. We understood he's a Texas gunslinger, family in oil, CIA connection. You understand? His father was during the JFK assassination, came up under that administration, set up Lyndon Johnson to continue the Vietnam War. So we understood George Bush and the Bush families are warmongers and they after the oil. All right? So we didn't expect anything less than what we received from George Bush. But Barack Obama is something else. Now, I'm going to go into that in one moment, but like I said, I'm going to open it up for the first 10 minutes, and then I'll go into the lesson. So I noticed that lately I haven't been able to answer questions within the chat because we've been busy and what have you. So I'm going to take 10 minutes, then I'm going into the lesson. The last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is Monday sundown. Someone asked, is there a gathering in Jamaica? We have Brother Gaja who's in Jamaica right now. So if you're in Jamaica, you can send an email. Make sure y'all check the email on that. They'll check the email. And if you have a number in Jamaica, we'll make sure Gaja call you. Next question. Get Ephesians the 6th chapter too. Rest not in flesh and blood. Mm-hmm. Get the ones on Abaddon. Mm-hmm. Does the Bible say anything about a black prince? Not that I know about. What's the next question? Okay. Who? Someone asks, is that why we've had 20 to 30 years of the Bushes and the Clintons? I don't know about the Bushes and the Clintons. I know that they're all from the same cloth. But all in all, it's been the same administration, believe it or not, since the death of John F. Kennedy. Every president after JFK was a New World Order CIA puppet. When someone asks, do you think Genesis 50 is significant in the beginning of... I don't understand the question. What is it in particular in Jeremiah 50? Because I don't understand where you're coming from with it. There's many prophecies in the Bible that talks about our oppression. We're going into Daniel 11 and we're going to break that down. Okay, we're going to take 2 more questions, then we'll go into the lesson. Okay, here's a good question. David of Judah. Okay, the NNWS had a special saying why Matthew, Mark, Luke states that the Last Supper was a Passover feast. But John says it was before the Passover. Is it in the Bible? Okay. Let's look at it in the book of John. Now I'm going to tell you, there's a reason you have so many atheists, because that's who are behind this questioning of the scriptures. There's a reason you have so many atheists coming out with so-called what they would think is contradictions in the Bible, because they understand that in order to execute their power over the world, they can only overtake unbelievers. So they must make you question the source that can protect you. So it's not that the Bible contradicts itself. Those that are against the Bible don't understand it. They're looking at the Bible with a veil over their eyes. All right? So if you look for contradictions, that's what you will find. And now you have the atheists. They got a new spin now. They realize that the Bible prophecies are coming to pass, and that's driving more people to read the Word. People are not talking about the Quran or the Gita, the Book of the Dead. They're only talking about the Bible now because they see the earthquakes. They see in diverse places. They see wells blowing like a mountain in the middle of the water, oil spills. They're looking at the wormwood where the waters are getting bitter. So these things are only spoken of in Revelations, in the book of prophecies in Matthew the 24th chapter. So what they did, they got a new spin now. Now their new quote is, well, the New World Order leaders wrote the Bible in the New Testament, and they're just playing out the things they wrote. That's the new quote now. The New World Order, they wrote Revelations so that they can play out their character and, to make people believe it's prophetic. So that's their new spin now. At first they were saying the Bible is not true at all. So now they see the prophecies coming to pass. It's like, we need another spin now. We're going to say the New World Order, the Illuminati wrote the Bible. Give me a break. Okay? Now, let's see in John. Let's go there. Mm-hmm. Let's go to the 18th chapter, right?
13.
13? Let's go there. Read it.
St. John chapter 13, verse 1. Now before the Passover, now before the feast of the Passover, when Yeshua knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end.
Go ahead.
And supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him.
Read the 13th verse again.
Verse 1.
The first verse.
Verse 1. Now before the feast of the Passover, when Yeshua knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end.
I'm going to show you what feast is talking about here. And see, a lot of people think this is a contradiction because they don't understand that the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread is two separate holy days back to back. And they don't know when it's being conjoined and separate. That's their issue. So it's not a contradiction. People don't know that you got the Passover one day, and then when the sun go down, you're in a new Sabbath, which is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So it was just talking about the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And because they can't link up the precepts, they'll look at that and say, well, that's a contradiction. No, there's two separate holy days back to back that are connected because you have 8 days of unleavened bread, Passover, and 7 days of unleavened. So it's not a contradiction at all, because the next day is a feast also. Here's the example. One moment. Read Luke 22. Luke 22 and 1.
St. Luke chapter 22, verse 1. Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover.
Read it again.
Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover.
Read it again.
Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover.
So the Feast of Unleavened Bread is called the Passover too. That's what they didn't understand when they try to look for a contradiction. Now let me prove to you that they're back to back. Okay? So you have the Passover feast. Then you have, which is a connection to the Passover when the sun go down the next day, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Two separate ones. Right? Let's go to Leviticus 23. So through the precepts, you can clear it up for them. They're getting it mixed up. And I can see how you can get it mixed up if you don't understand it's two separate holy days. Sometimes it's talking about the Passover, and sometimes it's talking about the Feast of Unleavened Bread one day later. Okay? Let's go to Leviticus 23. Now, this is what makes people destroy themselves with doctrine out there. They'll run with something they think is a contradiction and put it out there as if they're bringing forth some understanding. And then they put their foot in their mouth and be like, oh, I should have did more studying before I thought I had something groundbreaking. And see, what they'll do is they have some music under it. They have something going with it where it's coming like, oh, this is groundbreaking. And it'll be a bunch of mess. Only thing they had to do was use the precepts and use common sense. And you'll get taken with it like, man, that do make sense. Oh, man. It's like a contradiction there. Let's go to Leviticus 23.
Leviticus chapter 23, verse 1.
Read it.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be the holy convocations.
Go straight down to the Passover. Go to the 5th verse.
Verse 5. And the 14th day of the first month at evening is the Lord's Passover.
So the 14th day from the new moon, which was April 17th this year, is what?
Is the Lord's Passover.
Is the Lord's Passover. Read.
Verse 6. And on the 15th day.
That's the next day when the sun go down. Read.
Of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread. Unto the Lord 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread.
See that? 2 separate holy days back to back. So when it was talking about the Passover there, when you link it to Luke, you know it's talking about the feast of unleavened bread the next day. Is that clear? Does that make sense? The person that asked the question, so I can go into the lesson. Okay, there you go. So when they bring out that stuff, just go through a few precepts and just move it to the side. I ignore all that stuff when people think they're coming with contradictions. Mm-hmm. Why? Because the contradiction is in their own minds. Because they're going into the Bible and don't believe, they need a reason not to believe. So I wouldn't listen to them anyway. How can someone that don't believe the Bible and can't understand the Bible point out contradictions? Mm-hmm. Right? It's impossible. If they're not learned in the book, how could they point out contradictions? All right? So what you need to go into is all these people that try to bring out contradictory things, examine their doctrine and you'll find out that they're just trying to point out things so they can move you into their train of thought because there's a doctrine they are following against the Bible. But they just can't readily bring that information out. You'll attack it from the beginning. They must first discredit what you believe first. Then they'd be like, look at this. Look what I have. Mm-hmm. An upside down pentagram with Satan waiting with a pitchfork. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey, look what I got. You can't, there's no contradiction in this there. All right. Usually the people that bring this out are those that don't want to believe in Christ and try to say that the New Testament is something we shouldn't believe because there's too many contradictions. You can take part in the Hebrew Academy by sending an email to gatheringas1@aol.com. Gatheringas1, that's the number 1 at AOL.com, and we'll let you know how to get in the academy. And see, what we're doing here is nothing different than any of you. Any of you can do this. The Most High says he will begin to bring again the captivity of his people. So it's him. You can do the same thing. So don't get discouraged and knock back if someone try to bring something you don't understand. Just know that there's always an answer. Just because you don't understand it right now doesn't make it a contradiction. I've sat down with atheists, people that didn't believe anything, and I found out that they wasn't really atheists. They just was in a church that couldn't answer their questions. Mm-hmm. So usually if you go to this Bible-toting church that's supposed to be about God and none of your questions are being answered, you start to question whether or not there's a God altogether. Mm-hmm. That's the contradiction. So once they got their answers, their questions answered and understood what their purpose was, they went into the Bible even more. They believed in the Most High even more. So these atheists are not really atheists. It's just that they're going to pagans to try to get the true understanding of what's going down in the earth. They're going to pagans to try to learn about the Most High. How can you ask somebody about the Most High or ask them about the truth of the Bible and they're celebrating December 25th, Nimrod's birthday? You ask the preacher, well, isn't that Nimrod's birthday? Well, yeah, but that's a day we do it in remembrance of Christ. Mm-hmm. Well, brother, what day was Christ born? Well, nobody knows. So why are you doing Christmas service? well, you know, it's about the tradition. It's about God. It's about Jesus. Listen, brother, what you're saying is not about Jesus. Christ wasn't born December 25th. All right? All right? You can't get 3 days between Friday, Good Friday, so-called Good Friday, and Sunday. It's impossible. So how did Christ fulfill the scriptures of dying and rising 3 days and 3 nights, like Jonah in the belly of the whale, if he died on Friday and rose Sunday morning? Give me 3 days in between that. No, but you can get me to Sunday on Asterisk Day or Easter Day. The woman that came down in Babylonian folklore and hatched herself on the river Euphrates out of an egg and was shining like gold, the goddess of fertility. That's why you have eggs and bunnies on Sunday. When Christ was given up on Passover evening, that's the day that we should remember, the Passover, not Easter. When you look in the Greek concordance, and the only place Easter is written of, and you know the pagans put it in after King James died, you had your pagans. Roman Catholic Church put Easter in the Bible in Acts the 12th, the 4th chapter, 12th, the 4th verse. When really the word there, when you look in the Greek, was Passover. And they put Easter there to deceive the masses into following Satan's wife slash mother of Nimrod type deal. Okay? Someone says, one of the preachers on the God channel, come on, man, said today that he don't believe that Christ was crucified on a Friday. Can you believe that? Oh, I can believe that. Everyone know he wasn't crucified on a Friday. Because it tell you when they came dawning of a new day, which the first day of the week, the rock was already rolled back. So Christ actually rose on the end of the Sabbath day. When Mary Magdalene came there Sunday, he was already gone. Common sense. All right. Why do they have Easter Sunday? Now you notice any other holiday can fall on any holy day can fall on any day of the week. Even Christmas falls on different days of the week. But you notice Easter falls on Sunday every year. Why? It falls on Sunday because of the spring equinox, the worshiping of the sun, or the sun. That was the goddess of fertility, who was supposed to have dealt with Satan or some other entity and had a virgin child, Tammuz. And Tammuz was born during the same period of Nimrod, December 25th. It's supposed to have been the incarnation of Nimrod, who was dead. That's your December 25th. She got fertilized on Easter Sunday, and she had the child in December. Starting to add up, right? Now, let's go into the lesson. And let's go into the lesson. If you want a 1611 with the Apocrypha, you can order that online, or you can just buy yourself a separate, like this. We so happen to have, you have the Apocrypha here. This is 14 books that was taken out of the Bible. Of course, your Christian churches were behind that. And we have here, excuse me, you okay?
Sure.
A 1611 that have the Apocrypha in it. Apocrypha. Okay, let's get into it. Let's go to Luke. Our last stand under the Roman Empire. Luke 19. What's it, 20?
Yeah, 21 to 20.
Luke, the 21st chapter. Okay. Also, I hope you all were in that class where we proved there's no such thing as other planets. There's no such thing as other planets. We went to that before, and we showed you beyond any shadow of a doubt that there is no such thing as planets. They're just stars. All right? And when you go into the word planet in the Hebrew, it links directly to the constellations or the worshiping of stars. So by acknowledging planets, you're giving homage to fallen gods. There's no such thing as Mars, Jupiter. These are all gods of ancient Rome and Greece. They're lying to you when they say that they found another planet. They're lying. It's all computer generated. The majority of the things they show you, usually when you look at pictures outside the Earth, that's the farthest a lot of them went. They just around the outside of the Earth. All the pictures is in the same area, and when you see out there, you don't see none of what they're talking about. All right? So don't go into that planet Nubaru and they talking about asteroids almost hit the Earth. These are excuses so that when you see things coming to the Earth, they can pass it off as one of their excuses, knowing that there's fallen angels, which we're going to go into the lesson, are still fallen since the time of Noah. They're falling right now into the Earth. So they're saying there's comets and planets and all these things so that you don't be alarmed when you see what they call shooting stars. They're fallen angels. We're living in the time of Noah. When angels came down and slept with women, they are giving humans, they're giving our powers the technology in this earth today. So, but they had to brush it off so that you don't be alarmed when you see things entering our atmosphere. Okay? Once they fall, they get under Satan's authority. They fall under his authority and they give mankind technology. All right? And when you can link the planets and kings to the word wandering, where you see the wandering stars in the book of Jude, it's the same word, which is planets or planets. Fallen angels are the planets. Notice your Greeks, your Romans. Your Greeks and your Romans said they worship Mars, Zeus, Jupiter. All these different gods that we now call planets. Science is a joke. Science is a way to explain off the things we should believe in the Bible. On their television shows and all on their little program, they just throw out a little tidbit to keep the lies continuing. They'll say stuff like, well, it was 100,000 years ago, or 1,000, about 75,000 years. They just throw it in the TV show. Yeah, our people, we've been struggling for over probably about 50,000 years. Well, that comet only comes around probably about every 126,000 years. Listen, they are spewing straight garbage. They know that this earth is not past 14,000 years. They know it. Okay? So, don't deal with the contradictions. And, don't ever try to contradict the Bible. The Bible is the only thing that really stands in this earth today. And it's funny that the Jewish people, who are supposed to be the God's people, who are supposed to be the Jews, they're the people that are financing the institutions that are saying that this earth been here 100 billion years. So here it is. How do you expect me to believe that you are the people of the Bible when what you teach is against the Bible? Mm-hmm. If anything, if I were them, I would try to uphold the Bible, not bring some science in that'll contradict the book and which claims that I'm the people. All right, let's go into it. All right, let's go to Luke 21. Mm-hmm. Let's start at the 20th verse.
St. Luke, chapter 21, verse 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies.
When you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, which means Jerusalem is compassed with armies. Now, this happened to the children of Israel, our people, in 70 A.D. That's the history. Read.
And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
The Bible says, Christ told us, know that the desolation is near. Read.
Verse 21. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
This is how we got into Africa. In 70 AD, the Romans was compassing Jerusalem. All right. They had an army occupation. I like to explain this in detail so that brothers and sisters can understand what this is saying here. 4 years prior to this happening to us. A matter of fact, it was 6 years prior. Mm-hmm. You had Nero, who burned about 6 to 8 block cities of Rome and blamed it on us. A false flag attack, the same way they did the World Trade Center, the same way in Germany, so-called Hitler burned the Reichstag building and blamed it on another European country to go to war. They did the same thing to us in 70 AD. There's nothing new under the sun. They claimed that the Christians, or the Jews, which are Christians, burned Rome, and they used that as a pretext to one day take us down in 70 AD. They do the same thing today, called false flags. Then they took us down, and mind you, that lets you know Christ's prophecies are correct. He told the disciples this before he was crucified, that when you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, I want you all to take my people, and I need you to flee into the mountains. Those mountains are the Atlas Mountains. Right around Africa, we ran into the Atlas Mountains. No sooner as we seen Roman army occupation, and we started filtering into different parts of Africa. Black people hiding amongst other black people. We couldn't go into the Europe areas, so we had to go and hide ourselves. And right here, that tell you that the Jewish people cannot be the true Jews. How can they hide in Africa, running from Romans? If the Romans, who are Caucasian, came into Jerusalem to take down other Caucasians, how could they differentiate the Romans from themselves? Mm-hmm. How can the Romans differentiate or show a difference between themselves and the same white people? That wouldn't make no sense. The only thing the European Jewish people would have to do was throw on a Roman toga. Mm-hmm. And they would be no different than the Romans who were taking them down. That's more proof that the Jews were black. Mm-hmm. But this is how they speak this off. Well, y'all don't even believe in the Bible. Christ wasn't really real, and the Bible got too many contradictions. See, if you go that route, you'll never see the Jews within the Bible. You'll never see yourself. Okay? But when you really look into this Bible, you see it, you say, you know what? This is definitely us. Because there's no way, if we're the chosen people of the Most High, will we be coming up with science to discredit our own book. This must be us. Right? Read on. And some people might say, well, listen, it seemed like y'all be boasting who you are and you all be saying stuff like, it's about Israel, Israel. Listen, our people, and I'm saying this for the brothers and sisters out there, our people been long deprived of our national origin and our true identity too long. So there's nothing wrong with us staking claim to something that we lost for years. And you'll never know when a newer person might come through and have no hope. And they realize now why they're in such a condition they're in today based on the sins of their forefathers. That makes them want to correct the right of their forefathers. So that's why we keep bringing this out. Our brothers and sisters need to know who they are so that they can actually equate their circumstances to the book. They need that. Or it doesn't matter, like the churches say. And just stay lost and never understand why the earth is in its state like it's in the day, and then blame God and become an atheist. That's what they want. They'd rather you just, because if you learn about this all-loving God that really don't exist, and you see the earth in total disarray, you will start asking your preacher, well, where's this loving God that take care of everything? Where do he exist at? And then that'll make you an unbeliever. That's what Satan wants. But when you know that the earth must go through peril to bring forth God's people, now you get to understand why things are happening in the earth the way it's happening. When you understand that if the Most High give you something and you break his covenant, and through that come curses, now you start understanding captivity and slavery and the reason for it. Let's get back with it. Read.
St. Luke chapter 21 verse 20.
Go ahead.
Verse 21.
21.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
Flee to where?
Flee to the mountains.
Flee to the mountains. The Israelites fled into the mountains. Read.
And let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto.
Now, for those that didn't follow Christ, they just stayed in Rome. They just stayed in Israel. They just relaxed right there until the Romans took them down. And look at what they did. Rome encamped around Masada for 7 years and didn't let in any food or water. They starved them out, and they made sure they couldn't get any water. The only water they got in Masada was through rain. The people started starving to the point where the women were eating their own children. These are those that didn't take heed to Christ's prophecy. And you can read this in the book of Josephus, the war against the Jews. We thought that we had it made up there in Masada. We got the high ground. Vespasian told his son Titus, listen, son, you cannot beat them because they got the higher ground. But they must come down to eat. Let's encamp around and wait them out. They dug a trench around Masada. Everyone that came down to try to get food or rations or water, they killed. To the point where people were going against each other, looting against each other, killing each other. See, and that's the same plan they do now. They'll take away your rations knowing that you're going to turn against each other. And the Lord says there's nothing new under the sun. That's what the New World Order is doing now. They're cutting off the water. They're cutting off the food. They're poisoning the water. They're keeping all the good food for themselves. Knowing, then they're cutting off the money. It's the same exact tribulation on a global scale. Jacob's trouble. That's where we are. Okay, let me tell you, the rich and the elite, the bankers, they're not eating genetically modified food. They're not drinking water with fluoride in it. They're not drinking things with aspartame. We don't even look at the ingredients. We just see a big bottle and say, you know what, man, it's only 80 pence or 80 cents. And then you look on the back, it's aspartame. What is aspartame? Aspartame is rat poison. That's what it was used for in the 70s. And it's not even sweet. Your government found ways to sweeten aspartame to make it a sugar substitute. Then lied to you and told you sugar was causing diabetes when it's really the food without nutrition. That's really causing diabetes. Move your way from natural cane sugar, which the Most High made natural, and gave you rat poison. That's what you have today. So you'll see this big bottle. And you notice the juice that's really juice, you can get about this much for about $3 or 3 pounds. Just a little square box. Aspartame is rat poison. Fluoride do not belong in water. It causes bone cancer. It does not help your teeth. It actually helps your teeth decay. And they're doing the same thing that they did in 70 AD on a global scale. Why? They tried eugenics. They tried all these different things. And we're still living. You know who we need, brother? We need Barack Obama. We need Barack Obama. Let's go into it. Barack Obama going to do what he was set up to do. Then he's going back to the East. He did not start in America. He's not an American citizen. Okay? His mother is linked directly to CIA. And his mother is part of the Bush family, the Queen of England families. These are Germans. Everyone that tried to get close to Barack Obama was killed. They was asking Barack Obama's grandmother on his mother's side about his Hawaii status, because you know if you're not an American citizen, you cannot be a president. They started sniffing close right at the time in which he was about to be elected. And you notice a few days before his election, what happens? She mysteriously dies. Barack Obama's sister-in-law. Look what happens to her. I mean, his stepsister, who was part Indonesian. She mysteriously dies. Barack Obama's father. He mysteriously not on the earth. These things are not interesting to you? That there's no track record for this guy who just popped up in Chicago, nowhere, and became the leader of the free world. Born in Kenya, mother shroud in CIA. This guy is a Manchurian candidate. And the scriptures speak about him. Notice when America go down, because they done sold America up the river, it won't be too long before the destruction leaves the Middle East and makes its way back west. And once that happens, your elite who have taken the bailout and have already moved their companies offshores in other countries, they will be gone already when the bombs hit. Okay? They'll be gone already. And Barack Obama will not be there. The scriptures tell you that he's going to plant himself back in the East. That's where he's from. And see, these powers that control the earth today, they think that the whole world, or especially Americans, are not smart enough to figure this out. Anytime you will let a guy that's not an American citizen become president because he's the same color as you, you deserve everything he's going to give you. And that's what the elect is banking on. You just liked him because you thought it was groundbreaking, that someone was there to take care of you and look out for you. But you know what your parents told you and your grandparents told you? They said, well, listen, I don't think there'll ever be a black president. And if there is a black president, that's going to be the end of the world. And you know what? They were prophets. They were prophets. Because Barack Obama is in the book. And everything you see in the Middle East today culminates with Barack Obama. And he is what Oprah Winfrey called the one. And I'm not going to say the Antichrist, because there's many Antichrists. Barack Obama could not operate unless there was a machine behind him. It so happened that he's the one executing this because it must be someone whom the children of Israel and the Middle East will trust. Raised a Muslim, became president as a Christian. Now, who don't trust this guy? Let's go there to the book of Daniel.
Mm-hmm. I'm still in Ephesians. We'll drop that.
Let's go to Ephesians. Let's go there. And let's go to the one about the Persia and the prince of this world.
Mm-hmm.
You have them all? You holding them?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And look at what's happening to all the countries who trusted Barack Obama. It was so slick the way it happened too. Gaddafi and a lot of Middle Easterns over in the Middle East, these oil tycoons who trusted America, after seeing George Bush, they poured billions of dollars into Barack Obama's campaign, thinking that it would be a change for not only America, but for the world's policy against the Middle East. When do you know a black guy that can come from nowhere and raise more money than any politician who preceded him? That don't even make sense. This guy had European money, this guy had Middle Eastern money, and he was double-crossed. He's double-crossed all the leaders who helped him become president. And Gaddafi put billions of dollars into Barack Obama's campaign. He's the only guy that had the nerve to sign into legislation, the RFID chip. No other government official in America before his time put the RFID chip in legislation with your new healthcare bill. With the new healthcare bill, it says that you must have a two-way radio frequency to be able to get this particular. And they didn't want to put RFID chip, so they put two-way radio to be a part of this healthcare plan. Let's go to Ephesians.
Mm-hmm.
Ephesians 6.
Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, read.
But against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world.
So this is who we're battling against. We're battling against demons. It's demons that are controlling the powers that be. And Lawyer was looking into this. He showed me the other day the people or the powers who are over the elite. Go ahead, repeat it to him, Lawyer.
Yeah, basically what it's known as in the New Age movement, and also I don't know if you ever seen one of those diagrams, those pyramid scheme diagrams, where it shows the Illuminati, and at the top of the pyramid they have what is called the Great White Brotherhood. And when you look at this particular group, what it is basically fallen angels and demons that are being worshipped by the elite. These are the people that's controlling government. So I know a lot of people focus on the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and the physical aspect of who's controlling certain things. But the reality is, over these particular groups of people, there's fallen angels, demons, and spirits that are being worshipped and that are controlling world events and that are basically controlling government.
And when they say the Great White Brotherhood, some people would want to relate them to white people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they link to Aryan, but it's deeper than what they're telling you.
Mm-hmm.
The Great White Brotherhood, or the Aryan, or the Aryan, they're actually demons and fallen angels that are at the top of the pyramid. Esau falls right up under them, under what you would call the Red Brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
Right up under them is your government European powers, which is the Red Brotherhood. But the White Brotherhood have nothing to do with the color of skin.
Mm-hmm.
The White represents what they would call their enlightened knowledge. And they're the leaders and gods over the New Age movement. And see, everyone that's under the spectrum of this great pyramid receives benefits as long as Satan is in authority. I know a lot of people looking at Jay-Z and looking at Beyonce, but they're at the very bottom. They up under the pyramid, 20 feet under, 20 miles under the pyramid. At the top of the pyramid is where it's really coming from. Okay, we're talking about the great white brotherhood, which is angels. We wrestle not with flesh and blood. Ephesians 6:12. The rulers of this world in high and dark places. These are they in whom the Illuminati is getting their information from. All right, they're showing the elite how to destroy the earth and how to come against the children of Israel. They're doing this. And they are all complicit. So just pointing to the white man is not the key. This thing is deeper than the physical realm. We're going to show you that in Daniel. Let's go to Daniel's real quick. Let's go to the book of Daniel's. Chapter and verse.
Chapter 10, verse 12.
Daniel's 10, 12. Queen Elizabeth is a German. She's not even British. All right. Queen Elizabeth, Prince Charles, all of them are Germans. They are all part of the Great Red Brotherhood. They're part of the Red Brotherhood. They're Germans who link directly to the Khazars. They're all Jewish. Or what you would call Amalek. Amalek, according to the scriptures. All right. And that links directly back, if you don't mind, to the so-called plan with Hitler killing so-called Jewish people. All right. That was just a microcosm or a plan of what they would do to the real Jews when the New World Order is assumed. That had nothing to do with killing Jewish people. All ethnicities died during what you would call World War II. All right. All ethnicities died during World War I and World War II. All ethnicities died. All right. It was no German people going out killing Jewish people. They're the same people. Okay, they're the same people. That was just a pretext so they can take our sympathy and a pretext to get our land. Okay, and then start destroying and killing Palestinians. What did Palestinians have to do with what Hitler did? And then no one found Hitler. And then the skull of Hitler is a female skull. Hitler comes up with this plan of genocide in which he was testing poor people within Germany. And then you have Jewish people who had cameras looking at the testing of these poor people. And then now they're telling you this was them. The people they were running tests on. They was really preparing the world for what they would do to us. They put fluoridated water against the so-called Jewish poor people that was sick. They were using fluoridated water. Now they got fluoride in your water. They had what you would call a military setup through the youth, a youth military movement. Now Barack Obama is following that. They had it where everyone was claimed a terrorist and people were snitching on each other. Now you have that with Janet Napolitano in the United States with Homeland Security, and have people watching each other. It's the same plan they rolled out during Hitler's time that they're actually using for us now in the earth. Let's go to the book of Daniel.
Daniel chapter 10 verse 12.
Read.
Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand, and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia
It says, but the prince of the kingdom of Persia did what?
Withstood me 21 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia.
So this showing you a battle that happens in the spiritual world. In order for a kingdom to fall or a kingdom to rise, a kingdom must fall. So the spirit was trying to get the kings of Persia to fall so the Greeks could come in. But Christ says he had to call Michael in to help him war against this demon that was over the Persians. So that the Greek Empire could start. Because after the Greeks, the Romans would come, and then the Romans would fall, and then our kingdom would come next. So Satan got these spirits that operate to try to stop prophecy from happening so that they can keep the kingdom. If they can hold off prophecy, that's another day the children of Israel will stay in captivity. I hope you all are following me here. So Daniel and the prophets was asking, when will this come? When will we have an opportunity to receive the promises that you said we would get through Abraham? And he would tell the prophets, well, listen, we would have done this already, but Michael had to come and fight against this demon that was over the Persians so that we can fulfill the prophecy of the Greeks coming in. The same thing happens. But see, Satan through each empire perfects based on his downfall of a prior empire. So you had the Egyptians who had God's people, which are us, in captivity. Before that, you had the Babylonians who came up with Sunday worship, and they came up with the mindset of cities, because with the city, you can control the masses of people. If the people are scattered out, you can't do mind control. Nimrod came up with that. We must make exciting cities with games so that everyone can come into the city. Then we can count them. And if we need to destroy them or come up against God's people, we have a geographical location and we know exactly where to find them. Nimrod came up with that. After Nimrod, you had the Egyptians, who was under the Anunnaki, who are also what you would call children of the white brotherhood. All right? They got their technology from the Anunnaki, or the sons of Anak in scripture, which are Nephilim, or the children of fallen angels. Then you had the Assyrians, and you had later on the Persians. But Satan himself said, you know what? I'm going to be the leader over these particular people, which is the Red Brotherhood. Instead of having a spirit over the nations like the Persians and those that preceded it, the Greeks had a god over them or an angel over them. Satan himself is the god over the Romans. So the Pope, the Queen of England, the Bushes, they sit with Satan himself. They get direction from Satan himself. All right? There's a lot we're going to go into here, but I want to go to the next verse. Read it.
Verse 20. Then said he, Knowest thou wherefore I come unto thee? And now will I return to fight with the prince of Persia. And when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Grecia shall come.
See that? He says, listen, I'm going to fight with the prince of Persia because we withstanding this demon that are trying to keep the Persians in power. And then after that, the prince of the prince of the Grecians shall come. So the Greeks had another god over them. So this is how these empires operate. They sacrifice to separate gods. That's why you look in the earth and the Asians have their god. The Persians have their god. The Muslims have their god. The Europeans have their god. The nomads have their gods. Everyone have a demon or a god over them. All right? But the Red Brotherhood have Satan himself. And we're going to show you. Let's go into the prince of this world. Chapter and verse.
St. John, chapter 12, verse 31.
St. John 12 and 31.
As a matter of fact, started verse 30. St. John, chapter 12, verse 30. Yeshua answered and said, This voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. Now is judgment of this world. Now is the judgment of this world, Now shall the prince of this world be cast out.
Now shall what?
Now shall the prince of this world be cast out.
Now the prince of this world shall be cast out. Now let's see who is the prince of this world.
Daniel chapter Daniel chapter 9 verse 25.
Daniel's 9 and 25. Read.
Now therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the prince, shall be 7 weeks.
It says, Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem and unto the Messiah, the prince shall be 7 weeks. So this is the time period up into Christ. Read.
And 62 weeks, the street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times.
Read.
And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off.
That's when Christ was crucified. Read. Now Daniel was getting a timeline from where he is. Read.
But not for himself.
But not for himself. Read.
And the people of the prince.
And the people of the prince. Remember in John where it says the prince shall be cast down? Mm-hmm. The people of the prince were the Romans. The Romans are the people who killed Christ under Pontius Pilate. Read.
And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary.
And they destroyed the city and the sanctuary in 70 AD. To show you that the prince over the Roman Empire is Satan himself. Mm-hmm. The prince of this world. So some people like to just point to, okay, there's a white man. Listen, this thing, we ain't wrestling with flesh and blood. You can fight a white man. That's not the issue here. But you can't fight these principalities and powers not through physical force. You have to know what's ruling them to pray against those powers so that the Most High can fight for us as he did during Daniel's time. And see, and this is demeaning the work that needs to get done because you have people just concentrating on the pawns when really there's a spiritual being behind the Red Brotherhood that we should be focusing on spiritually to take down. Read.
Let's sit on that.
Read. I need you to read that.
Okay.
In the sanctuary, and in the middle of 26.
Verse 26. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary.
That happened in 70 AD. They lied on us and said that we burnt Rome, and they came up to kill us in 70 AD, and we ran into Africa, as we read in Luke. Read.
And the end thereof shall be with a flood.
And the end thereof shall be with the flood. And its flood is talking about the lies that came from the Roman Catholic Church. Christianity. That's the flood of lies that links directly into Revelation, the 12th chapter. Read.
And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined.
And it says, shall be poured upon the desolate. So these things, these destructions and floods will be poured. We in Daniel 9 and 26 and 27. It says, shall be poured upon the desolate. So these destructions that the Roman Empire and Satan is brewing up is aimed toward the desolate people. The people who were taken down in Jerusalem. That's where all this new world order, pain and suffering is aimed towards. Starting with our mental, then they deal with our religious side, then they deal with our physical side. Tearing us down piece by piece from generation to generation. This destruction is aimed towards God's people, a particular people. Okay, you all are following me, right? Now let's get to Barack Obama. The Native Americans are not red. I don't know where people getting that from. I know Native Americans. They are not red. That's just a term that was given them by the conquerors that came over into America. All right, let's go to the book of Daniel and let's get Barack Obama. Let's start at the let's start at let's start at the 21st verse. I'm at Daniel 11 and 21, and we're going to read through. Read.
Daniel chapter 11 verse 21. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries.
He shall obtain the kingdom by what?
By flatteries.
By flatteries. That means he can talk well. He can flatter. Now, when you look into the prophecies, the Lord says there's nothing new under the sun. Back then, in old time, it was Antiochus Epiphanes who originally came up and invented the desolation of abomination that all the kingdoms would pattern themselves after. And you're going to find out that Barack Obama studied the Roman emperors who destroyed the children of Israel and are doing the same exact things. Now, in order to understand where we are in prophecy, we must first understand who we are and who did what to us. See, that's what we lost in captivity. We didn't have no understanding of the history concerning the fall of our people. But when you look back at history, the Romans never was for our turn. The Romans set up taxes against us. They set up selling stuff in the temple. They shouldn't making money in the temple of the Most High. They set up tax people. The tax program you see today with the Jewish people came from the same Jewish powers who infiltrated during the time of Herod, what they would call Herod the Great. Okay, the same thing again. They was aiming towards us, watching us, counting us, and biding a time that they would destroy us. Read.
Verse 22. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant.
Now, as you can see, it says about that flood again. That flood is bringing an inordinate number of religions, of ideologies to a people. See, you can't flood a nation that have a God. Okay, that means how can you take all these different religions into the Middle East and think that they're going to become Buddhists? It's not going to happen because they're together. That flood was aimed towards a people who lost their identity. So when they're looking to deal with missionaries and convert a people, they're aiming that towards the people who don't know who their God is. That's that flood. Read.
Verse 23. And after the league made with him, he shall not work. He shall work deceitfully. Excuse me, let me read it again. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people.
He shall become strong with a small people. That means he's dealing with the smallest nation on earth. In the book of Obadiah, it says, I've made you small amongst the heathen. Therefore thou art greatly despised. That show you that Barack Obama is separate from these Edomites. The people he's working with is Esau, that small nation who was small amongst the heathen. That also lets us know this is transitioning from Antiochus Epiphanes. You see that? Read on.
Verse 24. He shall enter peaceably even upon the fattest places of the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done.
That's how we know it's an Israelite. He will do the things his fathers did not do. So who are the people of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? These are Israelites. This man is talking about is from the children of Israel. He would work different than the brothers of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He would despise the God of his fathers. Read.
He shall scatter among them the prey, and the spoil, and riches, yea, and he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time.
So all the strongholds he will aim towards and start breaking down. That's the wars you see in the earth today. All those that were at league with America and with the Western world are now being attacked. Their strongholds are being destroyed. Read.
Verse 25. And he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army. And the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army. But he shall not stand, for they shall forecast devices against him.
This is talking about the Middle Easterns, and I'm going to prove that. Read.
Verse 26. Yea, they that feed of the portion of his meat shall destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain. And both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper. For yet the end shall be at the time appointed.
Read.
Verse 28. Then shall he return into his land with great riches.
So he's going back to his land after all this is said and done with great riches. Read.
And his heart shall be against the holy covenant.
And his heart shall be against the truth of the Most High, the Bible. You notice Barack Obama speaks against the Bible himself. Read.
And he shall do exploits and return to his own land.
So this guy is going to leave America and go back to the areas he came from, like the areas of Kenya and the different areas in the Middle East. Read.
Verse 29. And the time appointed he shall return and come toward the south. But it shall not be as the former or as the latter. For the ships of Kittim shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and return, and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. And his arm shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice.
They shall do what?
And shall take away the daily sacrifice.
And they shall take away the daily sacrifice. The daily sacrifice is your daily food. Now, the only way they can take away your daily sacrifice, brothers and sisters, is if they set up a system in which you cannot buy or sell unless you have the mark of the beast. Because now your corporations own the stores in which you go purchase your daily sacrifice. And a lot of people don't know your sacrifice in the Old Testament was your food you thanked the Most High for. Once you sacrificed it, you had to cook it, whip it up, then you had to eat the sacrifice. So this man is going to be behind the mark of the beast. So when you read the scriptures and it talks about your daily sacrifices were taken away, in old time you had your own chickens in front of your yard. You had your own food. And your own lamb and your own bulls to do your sacrifices. Now, your government owns it. So when you read daily sacrifice, understand it's talking about your meals, because what you do at night when you get your food, you pray over your food, thanking the Most High for the sacrifice. Follow me here. Read.
Verse 32. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries.
So those that do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. Read.
But the people that do know their God.
But the people that know the God of Israel, read.
their God shall be strong and do exploits.
Shall be strong and do exploits. Read.
And they that understand among the people shall instruct many.
No, it says, but the people, excuse me, that know their God shall be strong and do exploits. That show you that other people have their own gods. Read.
Verse 33. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many. Yet they shall fall by the sword and by flame, by captivity and by spoil many days.
It lets you know war is going to be breaking out all over the earth. Now listen to this clearly. Read.
Verse 34. Now when they shall fall, they shall be hoping with a little help.
They shall be helped with a little help. Read.
But many shall cleave to them with flatteries.
But it's going to be all about talk. So all these nations that are rising up and thinking that it's going to be something at the end of the war, it's just talking right now. Diplomats. Read.
Verse 35. And some of them of understanding shall fall, to try them, and to purge, and to make them white, even to the time of the end.
So it's going to be people going throughout the earth, baptizing people, making people white. That's Isaiah, the 1st chapter, the 16th to the 18th verse. People are going to start seeing that the Bible is the truth and going to start coming back to Christ and start baptizing themselves. Even the other nations too, while this is going on. Read.
Because it is yet for a time appointed, and the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god.
This so-called king shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god. Look how they was exalting him during his campaign, as if he was the second coming. Oprah Winfrey called him the one. Read.
And shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods.
And he's going to be speaking against the God of all gods. Read.
And shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished.
But he's going to get rich until the indignation is accomplished, until all the death and destruction that is put in his hands be accomplished. Read.
For that is determined shall be done.
Because everything that's determined that this man must do must get done under his administration. Read.
Verse 37. Neither shall he regard the God of his father.
And it's saying it again. This guy will not regard the God of his fathers, knowing that he's an Israelite. Read.
Nor the desire of woman.
Nor the desire of women. This is also talking about his sexual preference. He's a homosexual. Yes, he got children, but that's all a front. He is a homosexual. All right, he deal with men. That's what he do. Read.
Nor regard any God.
Nor regard any God. He don't have. How can you be raised a Muslim all your life and just turn Christian? That tell you that he don't regard any God. He won't follow any God to get status and get in a position to do what he do. How can you be raised a Muslim in Kenya and go to school in Indonesia and become a greater Muslim and then come to America and change your faith? Who else is this talking about? Antiochus Epiphanes didn't switch gods. The Romans didn't switch gods. Read.
For he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces.
He shall honor who?
But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces.
He shall honor the God of forces. Who's the God of forces? The God of forces is Satan himself. We wrestle not with flesh and blood. These forces are all the demons under Satan's rule. That's who Barack Obama worships. Read.
And a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor.
And he's dealing with the God that our fathers knew not. His fathers knew not. Yes, his mother is part of the Queen family, but his father was an Israelite. Read.
And a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain.
So he's going to be taking down these lands for gain. That's what's going on right now. And he's taking all the riches of the world, and they're pumping out paper IOUs. But they're storing all the riches for themselves. Read.
Verse 40. And at that time of the end shall the king of the south push at him,
Listen to this.
and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen, and with many ships, and he shall enter into the countries, and shall overflow and pass over. He shall enter also into the glorious land.
He shall go into Jerusalem also. Remember, he was worshiping in Jerusalem before he was elected. Listen to this clearly. Go ahead.
And many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape.
But these shall escape. Look at the nations that's going to be escaped. That's not going to be harmed. Read.
Out of his hand. Even Edom.
Even who?
Even Edom.
Even Edom.
And Moab.
And Moab.
And the chief children of Ammon.
But these shall escape out of his hand. So these are the nations that's going to survive this. Read.
Verse 42.
Edom is the so-called white man, or the European powers that rule. You got Moab, which is primarily the Palestinians, and you got Ammon, which are the Jordanians. Read.
Verse 42. He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries.
What countries will he stretch his hand towards to fight against?
And the land of Egypt shall not escape.
And the land of what?
And the land of Egypt shall not escape.
That's one of the first places in the Middle East that he staked a claim to overthrow, Mubarak. Read.
Verse 43. But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver.
So they went there to rob Egypt. That's what they really went there for. Notice as soon as they went there, they seized Mubarak's bank account. They seized all the powers and the finances of Mubarak. So all the jewels and the gold and silver that he owned in Egypt now belongs to the New World Order. Read.
And over all the precious things of Egypt and the Libyans.
And where?
And the Libyans.
Where is he now?
And the Libyans.
Where is he?
And the Libyans.
Now they're warring against Libya. Coincidence, folks? That's how we know it's Barack Obama. After Egypt came Libya. This have not happened any other place, any other time in history. What's next?
And the Ethiopians.
And the what?
And the Ethiopians.
Down there in Somalia and in Yemen. And parts of Ethiopia. They're there too, folks. Chronological order under Barack Obama. Read.
And the Ethiopians shall be at his steps.
Shall be at his steps. These are the places that you will know this is the man. Hold up now. Bill Clinton didn't do this. George Bush Sr. or George W. Bush didn't do this. This is speaking of Barack Obama telling us that we are at the end. Read.
Verse 44. But the tidings out of the east and out of the north.
Out of the what?
But tidings out of the east.
Out of the east.
And out of the north.
And out of the north. When you look at the northern geographic, you're talking about Russia. You're talking about China. Read.
But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him.
Shall do what?
Shall trouble him.
The north country from where these scriptures are talking about is talking about Russia and China. They're going to trouble the New World Order. And the east, because why? It tell you in 2nd Esdras that those kings are going to flee and join up with other kings. That's what Gaddafi's doing right now. They're going to go and try to strike Iran, and that will be the end of the place we call Babylon the Great. That will be the beginning of the end. There will be no prophesying come out of her when that happens. All right? At that point, there's no choice but to wait for the ships of Tarshish for those that make it over into South America. Because there'll be no planes flying out, none of that, when this thing hit that place. The Lord tell you, nothing will be left, man or beast, when they go into Iran and start this World War III. Finish reading.
Verse 44. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy, and utterly to make away many. And he shall plant the tabernacle of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain.
That lets you know that Barack Obama is going to be sitting over in the Middle East. He's going back home. So when America get dealt with, he's going to have his house already set. For all you Americans that voted for Barack Obama and thought that he was down with America. America is not this man's home. He's going to plant himself. He's making himself away in the Middle East now to live, knowing that he sold America out. What's next?
Yet shall he come to his end, and none shall help him.
So he's going to come to an end once America is dealt with and he moved back over in the Middle East. And that's when he will be dealt with once and for all. Shalom. Let me save this. And you can link this in with 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter in your Apocrypha. If you have private questions such as explicit as physical ailments or physical situations, please send a personal email.